Before I start the video, I'd like to give a spoiler warning for Peacemaker Season 2. Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about Superman versus the Fantastic Four, First Steps. So I'm going to be rating these relatively, if that makes sense. They're obviously two different films, and I will take things like that into context. Like each film's current position in their universes, the kinds of films they are and are supposed to be. Obviously, you know, not both films aren't supposed trying to be Citizen Kane, right? Like that's clearly not where they're trying to be, but also their landscape in the current film climate, obviously. I did feel that the Superman definitely is the winner for this, in that it kind of just feels very disjointed from, it feels like they're trying to kind of tell this tale in another version of the MCU, another alternate Earth, and that they're trying to do all this stuff without any of the consequences, right? So that then they can go, right, we've got the Fantastic Four introduced now, so we can do what we want with them in Doomsday later on. And it just kind of feels a bit forced in terms of the design. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I've really loved the design of Fantastic Four First Steps. The production design was absolutely amazing, costume design as well. But yeah, it just kind of felt like they tried to go off on this thing, and it's trying to separate itself from its past mistakes, and it's trying to kind of like win you over a bit with one of those, with the design and how different it is from, you know, obviously mainline MCU, as opposed to Superman, which is just going for it, you know, like it's not trying to be anything that it's not. It's not trying to, which I don't think Fantastic Four First Steps is doing, but it's almost like it's just kind of there to make up for a lot of the crap that Marvel has tried to pump out the last few years. And kind of same with Thunderbolts, but the thing with Thunderbolts was, you know, it was, firstly, it was in that world, and secondly, it didn't need to rely on those kind of flashy visuals. It had the story there, right? Which I feel Fantastic Four First Steps does do a little bit. Whereas Superman, I feel, doesn't. I feel Superman has a really good kind of world set up. James Gunn himself even said, you know, when you pick up a comic, you're thrust into that world. You don't get a recap, right? And he wanted that. He wanted it to be like that, and it really feels like that, you know. And what I love about it is that there's already a gang. There's the Justice Gang. There's already a team, but it's not the Justice League yet. So that's obviously going to develop. And we saw in the first episode of Peacemaker, they did actually all come together. Justice Gang, Superman, and Supergirl, right? So that's obviously going to develop into then the Justice League, which I'm very excited for. So yeah, I think that really is the winner here, Superman. For that, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Before I continue, I'd like to talk about my Patreon. This is just a little thing I've started because of YouTube's BS with fair use and blocking my videos in multiple regions, copyright striking my videos so that I can't make any money, stuff like that. It's not mandatory at all. This isn't a big thing, at least right now. I just thought I would put it up so you guys can have early access to videos, and if I end up posting my films, you also have early access to my films, because I'm getting sick of the film festival industry and putting films into film festivals, so you guys might be able to get early access to those as well. Your name in the credits, ad-free content, and that's all for £2.66 or $3.59 USD. Thank you to Hayden Carter for shouting me out on his Patreon as well. He's absolutely amazing. He makes absolutely amazing content. Go and check him out. So yeah, thank you to everyone for even being here anyway. And this is not mandatory. This is not something that you have to do. I already really appreciate you guys, and I hope this doesn't underwhelm my appreciation for your guys' love and support. So yeah, let's get on with the video. Character relationships and acting. Both of these films rely on character relationships like heavily, whether that be their relationships to each other or just to the world, like what they represent to the rest of the world, right? Both have a very important place in the world. Fantastic Four are very much relied upon, right? In terms of, you know, Mole Man is kicking off. They've got to be the ones to do it. We don't see any other superheroes in this world, right? And I don't think we even hear about them. And you know, they say themselves when Shalabal or Silver Surfer comes down, are you the protectors of this world? And they say yes. They don't really even hesitate. So it's clear that they represent something. But also their relationships to each other are very, very important. It's supposed to be like a family, and it does at first feel a bit sluggish. It feels a bit Marvel-y, of, you know, that thing of quirky, you know, that kind of feel. But the more the film goes on, it does make you feel for the characters. I really like this version of Johnny Test, I think his name is. I've really liked this version of him because the Chris Evans version is good, of course. It's classic, but he's just too much of an arsehole in that version, and you really struggle to relate to him. And what I really like about this version is that it's not hard to relate to Johnny. It's in fact easier to relate to him in some ways than it is to Miss Fantastic Reed, which was quite interesting actually. I wouldn't expect them to kind of go down that path of making, you know, the leader harder to kind of empathize with in some senses than Sue, than Johnny, than the Thing, right? So it was that was really good, and I just love Johnny and the Thing's banter is absolutely amazing, and I felt like it really developed and you kind of grew on it more. In Superman, I felt the same way, honestly, except for the fact that I felt the same way. I mean, I really empathized with the character. I didn't feel it was slow at the beginning. I didn't feel like it was trying to be something. It just felt like, right, this is what we're dealing with. Like, right, here we go. And obviously that was the point. But it just felt like you could instantly kind of relate to the characters. Superman being that, you know, that kind of Boy Scout as he was in the comics from the beginning, I believe. I'm not too up to brush with Superman, Batman, you can talk to me about, but not Superman comics. I really, really love that, how he saved the squirrel, how he cares for every being. You know, even when he's fighting the kaiju, he wants to help it. Was amazing. And then obviously, even in the first few minutes when he's and there's an audience of people that are idiots, in my opinion, that think because he's vulnerable and emotional and has to have his parents' message playing when he's healing, that he's like a wimp, basically. Oh, not my Superman. Oh, he's too... But then, you know, you go too far the other way, you've got Henry Cavill or farming, right, when hundreds of people are dying. So I prefer, in my opinion, this one, although I do love Man of Steel and the Snyder Cut. But yeah, I really related to him. Lois Lane, I did relate to her quite a bit. I wasn't the biggest fan of Lois Lane in this film. I felt she was... I do like that they kept it close to, you know, instead of just making her this, oh, she's the love interest. She had a character, she had a defined character. The Justice Gang had amazing banter. That was really funny. Just all their scenes together. Metamorpho was great as well. It's a very funny film. Obviously, it's James Gunn, so it's going to be funny. Lex Luthor, though, I felt I couldn't relate to him whatsoever. I mean, some of the things he said, I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough, I can see where you're coming from, but the amount of cruelty he shows, and I think that's where Man of Tomorrow is going, is to kind of open him up a bit, and obviously he's been a Peacemaker now, so there's going to be some kind of ramifications for his place in the DCU. So yeah, what did I give these? I think, to be honest, I'm probably going to have to give Fantastic Four an 8 and Superman a 9, just because it didn't need that kind of jump start Superman, whereas Fantastic Four did, which I felt was a bit disappointing. Cinematography. This is a very difficult one because both films have very different cinematography. Fantastic Four First Steps is very traditional cinematography, quite static shots for a lot of it. You know, there are some good dolly shots, but not really it was just a very traditional, which I really enjoyed, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. So this is very difficult for me to compare, obviously, as you can imagine, but I like the challenge. Superman, this widescreen, I think it was shot on IMAX, extravaganza of like in your face, beautiful color grading. It couldn't be probably more opposite to Fantastic Four. There's so many dolly shots in this film. Like, James Gunn loves using dolly shots. He loves using the Steadicam. I think it's used for a lot of the film. So yeah, I really like the cinematography, and you can tell it's been thought out for both. So I'm gonna have to put them both at a 9. I cannot bring myself to I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can as well. I'm more of a DC fan. I do like Marvel films, like I was talking about Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts was incredible this year. If you guys want to see a review of Thunderbolts, I'd love to talk to you about that. I've really enjoyed that film. In fact, I want to watch it again. So yeah, I think both of them deserve that as a fair, even rating. Otherwise, I'm just going to be a bit more biased, and I don't want to do that. I'm not going to give it a drastically less rating than Fantastic Four's First Steps because it has less action, because I think that actually, in fact, that makes it incredibly bold. Thunderbolts had lots of action. Most Marvel films have lots of action while still telling a story. I think the fact that Fantastic Four First Steps had little action is amazing because it still feels quite a lot more grounded, especially given that it's just in New York. For the most part, like, the central action is in New York, central things happen in New York. Yeah, they do go to space, but it just feels more grounded, in my opinion. And I think that's very bold for Marvel to do. But when there was action, I thought it was really well done. I really liked how Mr. Fantastic used his... I just wish that there was more of it, is my only problem, and I really hope they get to go back to this world, maybe even in Secret Wars, when there's the, what's it called? I'm really struggling today with finding words. When all the worlds are mashed together, maybe Fantastic Four's world would be there. That would be amazing. I would love to see them back in this world for sure. In terms of Superman, it was absolutely amazing. The action was just absolutely amazing. The way the superpowers were used, the way that everything was used was creative and unique, and it wasn't just punching and kicking and all this kind of action movie slop. It felt incredibly creative. The way Superman uses powers, the way the engineer, how she used her powers, that was a big standout to me. Even Ultraman, even the fact that Ultraman had to be commanded to do everything because Lex had got it down to a T. And Superman fighting all those soldiers as well was absolutely amazing. And I loved his fight with Ultraman. I thought that was absolutely amazing. Just the usage of, instead of just having it be this boring, yeah, right, we get it, action, which I felt Thunderbolts did a little bit, unfortunately. I'm going to give a Fantastic Four an 8.2 for that. And Superman a 9. Music. So the music was, the score particularly is, I suppose soundtrack as well, let's say score and soundtrack. But I'm trying to be relative here, so I'm just trying to, obviously there's more of a soundtrack in Superman, there's more, non-score music used, which is James Gunn's forte, as everyone knows. But I think I might have to give Fantastic Four more points for this, I'm afraid, because I felt the reliance on Superman's old theme, Christopher Reeve theme, was too over-reliant on that, in my opinion. And I love Superman, the soundtrack. I absolutely love it. Last Sun is amazing. I love Punk Rocker. I love it, but I can't, in good faith, I just can't bring myself to do that, because Fantastic Four's original score, and I'm a Michael Giacchino gigantic Michael Giacchino fan. Obviously the Batman, I thought he delivered the perfect score for that film. But I'm not even saying it because of that. I'm really not, because like I said, I loved the soundtrack in Superman. But yeah, I just felt like it was too over-reliant on that, and it used his old theme too much when, you know, there was an opportunity, definitely. I think it fit, but I think there definitely was an opportunity to create and forge more of his own theme in there, which it did have. It did have kind of variations of his own version of that. But I felt like they could have utilised that more. So I'm going to have to give Superman a 7 and Fantastic Four an 8. Writing. So I do feel it's the closest rating in terms of this video, because I feel that both had kind of kinks that could have been worked on. Superman was a bit too over-explained in points of, you know, just explaining the way the exposition was done. It was not done visually, and I felt that was the same way with Fantastic Four First Steps. They couldn't have been closer with this one, to be honest. I think that the writing is quite similar, except in terms of the structure and the ending. Or both, as well as the character writing, was quite similar. Obviously, a little bit worse with Fantastic Four First Steps, but then it kind of made up for it with focusing on the characters. So I will have to give both of these films a same score of 8 out of 10. Alright, so it looks like Superman has won. I really enjoyed making this video and going over their differences and their similarities. I think it's something that we should all be doing. We should all be looking at the media we watch and analysing it, because, you know, as soon as we start putting up with shit is when we're screwed, and we're gonna go downhill from there. In terms of hopeful cinema, I think they're both up there for sure, and I've enjoyed both of these films very, very much, but Superman just has to be the winner, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm like the critic, the film critic, sorry. That's just how it is, mate. Deal with it. So yeah, really enjoyed making this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'd love to hear everyone's opinions in the comments. This is something that I'm not too precious about. So go mental in the comments. Do say, I think Superman is terrible, if you want to. I'm not precious about either one of these films, so I'm very excited to hear what you guys think. And yeah, I really appreciate everything, guys. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'll see you guys out there neon hunting.